mounted by a detachment of the Presidential Guards Brigade. During the visit, several agreements and memoranda of understanding are expected to be signed between Nigeria and South African government officials. This is to renew and further deepen the ties between the two countries anchored on mutual respect, solidarity and understanding. Still on the visit, Nigeria and South Africa have signed new memoranda of understanding in diverse areas including youth development, women and child empowerment, and political consultations, as well as other critical areas that will lead to increased people-to-people contact. The signing of the MOU was the climax of a successful state visit to Nigeria by President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa and the 10th session of the Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission. State House correspondent Ntalive reports.
Apart from the new memoranda of understanding on diverse areas such as youth development, women and child empowerment, and political consultations, as well as other critical areas that will lead to increased people-to-people contact, existing memoranda of understanding signed during the previous binational commission meetings were also reviewed.
We also jointly launched the Nigeria-South Africa Youth Dialogue, another veritable tool for interaction among our youth with the aim of creating shared values and aspirations. Many of our youth from Nigeria and South Africa joined us virtually during the launch. I sincerely thank my brother, President Cyril Ramaphosa, for initiating this youth dialogue as continuous interaction between the youth of our two countries will further break down barriers and lead to better understanding among our people. Today's inauguration of the Joint Ministerial Advisory Council on Industry, Trade and Investment will enable the private sector of the two largest economies in Africa to further promote economic cooperation and development. We appreciate that we need to do much more to achieve further integration of our two economies and take full advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement.
These new agreements between our two countries broaden the scope of our cooperation on issues of common interest and mutual benefit, and we will continue to work together to ensure their implementation.
And these include memoranda of understanding on military cooperation, power, cooperation in the field of geology, mining and mineral processing, oil and gas, and several others. Both countries had before now signed approximately 32 agreements, and today have added these other agreements which will further strengthen the cooperation between the two countries and for the benefit of their citizens. In the State House, Ntalive, NJ News.
Still on the matter, Nigeria and South Africa have come a long way in their bilateral relationship, both in regional integration and foreign policy. How they have fared at some point along the way has been crucial to their development. Charles Alpha takes a look at the progress, problems, and prospects of these countries regarded as Africa's most flourishing countries in trade and sustainable development.
During the apartheid era, Nigeria, amongst other independent African states, fought for the liberation of their black brothers and sisters in South Africa. Then, Nigeria had no bilateral relations with the government of South Africa, as the country was a pariah state in the international community because of her apartheid posture.
Our foreign relations has always been Afrocentric. So Nigeria played a very significant role in that era in seeing to the liberation of South Africa as a country and the entire Southern African region.
Since the inception of democratic rule in Nigeria, South Africa and Nigeria have had encouraging bilateral economic relations. Gradually, They made steady progress, and today they are regarded as Africa's emerging giants. Between 2002 to date, South Africa has invested over $1.4 billion in tourism and telecommunications ventures in Nigeria. Their economic and military capacity, culture, values, and policies have positioned them as regional powers and find expression in their influential roles in respective sub-regions. Both countries are the dominant state entities in their respective sub-regions. They also have a history of cooperation with and involvement in a range of continental projects like the New Partnership for Africa's Development, NEPAD. Even though both are plagued in diverse ways, they have proven they can rise above their challenges.
A lot can be done to ensure that all those tensions that leads to diplomatic row between the countries laid to rest. Issues around xenophobic attack should be discussed, early warning systems put in place, and of course, even the fight against COVID-19.
The visit of the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to Nigeria is hoped will consolidate on the gains and explore more ways both countries can achieve more. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Still on the visit, Nigeria and South Africa have successfully held a binational meeting in Abuja, which throws up the need for African countries to forge a common front towards addressing health issues facing the people of the continent. There was also a call for a reversal of the travel ban placed on South Africa as a result of the new coronavirus variant, also known as Omicron variant, found in that country. We'll bring you details subsequently. President Muhammadu Buhari departs Abuja today, Wednesday, to attend Expo 2020 Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, stated that the Expo will provide another opportunity for the Nigerian delegation to highlight significant strides in the economy in the last 6 years as a basis for making the country an important destination for foreign direct investment. Aside touring the Nigerian pavilion at the Expo on Friday, Nigeria's National Day, the President will also receive in audience prospective investors as well as meet with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces, and Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of the Emirate of Dubai. On Saturday, President Buhari will be the special guest of honor at the Special Trade and Investment Forum. The President will be accompanied by the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Industry, Trade and Investment, Finance, Budget and National Planning, Defense, Aviation, and Agriculture and Rural Development. Others are the Ministers of Health, Communications and Digital Economy, Mines and Steel Development, Minister of State, Industry, Trade and Investment, the National Security Advisor, Director General of National Intelligence Agency, and the Chairman, CEO, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. President Buhari is expected back in Abuja on Sunday, December the 5th, 2021. And now to health. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has confirmed 3 cases of Omicron variant in Nigeria. The cases, it says, are linked to passengers from South Africa. A statement by the NCDC Director General, Dr. Ife Dayo Adetifa, explains that the cases were discovered through the genomic sequencing of samples from the routine travel tests required for all international travelers carried out at the NCDC reference laboratory in Abuja. In view of the highly likely increased transmissibility of the Omicron variant, the NCDC recommends that states encourage the use of the approved antigen-based rapid diagnostic test for rapid testing of the population in public settings. Omicron variant, a new strain of the COVID-19, was detected in Botswana and reported by South Africa. This prompted some countries to impose travel ban on southern African countries. Meanwhile, Canada has extended travel ban to Nigeria after it reported the discovery of 2 cases of the Omicron variant from 2 passengers from Nigeria. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has confirmed 105 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. The 105 new cases bring the total number of confirmed cases to 214,218. 207,304 have been discharged and 2,977 deaths so far have been recorded in the country. The federal government has commenced enforcement of the No Vaccination, No Work Directive for federal workers. Oluseye Adiagbo monitored the enforcement in some institutions in the nation's capital.
It is more than a month that the federal government announced that all civil servants in Nigeria will show proof of COVID-19 vaccination or present a negative PCR test result not more than 72 hours to gain access to their various offices. The directive is being enforced at some federal government parastatals. At the headquarters of the Nigerian Television Authority, the enforcement was evident as security personnel ensured compliance from staff.
The DGNT has instructed that the directive should be implemented, fully, and that has been done. It's a must. Compliance has been very impressive. Yes. The good thing is that most of our employees also have gotten vaccinated.
You go back home.
The directive was strictly enforced at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation.
Go back.
Total construct was the case as the Federal Secretariat Abuja, as movement in and out the complex was without check.
But right now, right here, people are coming in, nobody is checking whether you have the card or not.
What you do now, I think you are here. We'll make it.
Muhammad Aliu Muhammad is a staff of the Federal Ministry of Information. The office access denier has compelled him to visit the nearest vaccination center.
The government have done their best, but I think now they have provided more centers to enable all and sundry around the office areas to have it done.
Well, it is expected that more public servants will take this directive more seriously to stop the spread of COVID-19 and get protected against the virus. In Abuja, Oluseye Adiagbo, NTA News.
Lagos is our first port of call. Michael is standing by with reports making the rounds from that axis. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Lydia. The Lagos State government has released its white paper on the report by the Judicial Panel of Inquiry on Restitution for Victims of Police Brutality, Related Matter and Lekki Toll Gate Incident. Out of 32 recommendations made by the panel on the end-SARS protest at the Lekki Toll Gate, only 11 were accepted by the state government. Jennifer Igwe reports.
Paper report in 2 volumes captured recommendations on the Lekki Toll Gate incident and consolidated reports on general police brutality cases. On the Lekki Toll Gate incident, the state government noted inconsistencies and contradictions in the number of persons the report claimed died at the toll gate on the 20th of October 2020 during the end-SARS protests. The report claimed 9 protesters were killed, but the government described the numbers as baffling, saying that apart from listing out their names, the panel offered no explanation regarding the circumstances of their deaths. This, the government says, shows the judicial panel itself had doubts on the 8 others' alleged deaths on its list. It added that 14 recommendations fall outside its powers and would be forwarded to the federal government for consideration.
There are a lot of lessons to be learned. On the part of the youth, there is need for more organization, more engagement with the government when these kind of issues come up. There should be, on the part of the government should create channels to address the grievances of the youth and other aggrieved persons.
On reports bordering on general police brutality, out of 22 recommendations, the state government says it would only accept 4 and forward 18 to the federal government as it lacks powers to investigate and fish out police officers as recommended by the Judicial panel. Now, since the incident that happened at the Lekki Toll Gate Plaza in 2020 during the NSAS protest, the place has been toll-free. Now, one of the recommendations by the Judicial panel, which has been accepted by the Lagos State government for healing and restitution, is for the Toll Gate Plaza to be toll-free October 20th every year as long as the facility exists. In Lagos, Jennifer Igwe, NTA News.
Civil servants in some federal government parastatals in Lagos are set to be complying with the vaccination directive. However, NTA News team was denied access into some offices owing to bureaucratic bottlenecks. Adiola Komiakere reports.
In the course of going round some federal government parastatals and Victoria Island in Lagos, I have been turned back because I was told I needed approval from their head office in Abuja before I can monitor the enforcement of the COVID-19 vaccination. It will be recalled that the federal government had instructed its workers to stay away because of the COVID-19. I'm talking about grade levels 12 to 1. And they have been told to resume December 1. And that brought us out to visit federal government parastatals and officers in Lagos here, particularly on the island. But unfortunately, I have not been granted access. Well, it's another refusal and it's another denial from this parastatal that we have visited. But we have, however, gathered that they are working on how to know the number of staff that are already vaccinated and those who have taken the first jab and those that have not taken any vaccination at all. They assured us that in days to come, they will ensure all the staff are fully vaccinated. All efforts to interview 1 or 2 of the workers to find out from them if they vaccinated themselves while away from the office premises proved abortive. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakiri, NTA News.
Time now for some messages, and when we return, Kaduna is our next port of call. Please stay.
In line with the legislative agenda of the Ninth National Assembly in support of President Muhammadu Buhari's determination to reposition the economy for sustainable growth and development, the House of Representatives Committee on National Planning and Economic Development, in collaboration with CAP Consultancy and Management Services Limited, is organizing a 2-day national workshop for stakeholders in the budget, finance, accounts, revenue generation services, planning and economic development sectors of the Nigerian economy. The workshop is intended to deepen the knowledge of participants drawn from the federal, state and local government areas on the strategic imperatives of budgeting as instruments for national planning and cost controls in national governance. The resource persons are Professor Mike Kwanashi, Professor Salamatu Idris Isa, Professor Mubarak Sani, Mr. Benjamin Akabweze. Date Monday 6 to Tuesday 7 December 2021. Venue Merit House 22, Agin Rossing Street, Maitama, Abuja. Time 9 a.m. daily. For further inquiries, call the following numbers. Announcer Sulaiman Fatai, Deputy Director Legislative for Committee's Chairman.
Are you an entrepreneur? Do you operate small businesses, sell, promote, or market product or equipment, rent, hire, produce, offer services in music, food, fashion, film, photography, painting, sculpture, play, drama, comedy, travel, and hospitality sector? Enjoy Nigeria Expo 2021 is here for you to showcase your product, services, and skills. Learn how to grow your business, connect with customers, network with frontline entrepreneurs in your sector across Nigeria. Enjoy Nigeria Expo is holding from December 6 to 12, 2021 2021 at the Abuja International Trade and Convention Center, Kilometer 8, Umoriyar Adwa Expressway, Airport Road, Abuja. For inquiry, call 009-114-3424, 009-643-0859. Enjoy Nigeria Expo 2021 is brought to you by Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Welcome to Nigeria Project and Abuja Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Enjoy Nigeria, future assured through cultural creativity.
Over Femi Martins. Just look at this. Remember the name.
The African Cup of Nations starts on the 9th of January 2022 on NTA, powered by AfroSports. For sponsorship and advertisements, contact us on 090-9890-6913 or 090-3513-2838.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV Channel 251, GoTV Channel 91, Freeview UK Channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk, app for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Southampton will look to bounce back from their thrashing at Anfield when they welcome the Seagulls to St Mary's. This Saturday, it's Southampton versus Brighton and Hove Albion on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 3:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu, empowered by Integral.
Is substantial compliance by federal civil servants in Kaduna with the December 1 deadline for COVID-19 vaccination to gain access to offices. Haruna Mohammed was at the Federal Secretariat and some federal government establishments in Kaduna.
This is the Federal Secretariat Kaduna. Although there isn't any form of enforcement here at the moment, majority of the civil servants who spoke to us say they have taken their jobs. Awal Aliu is a federal civil servant. He has taken his first and second job.
I was vaccinated AstraZeneca on 28/6/2021 for the first dose. The second dose was on 30/10/2021. So I'm fully now vaccinated.
Like Awolu Aliu, many civil servants here at the Federal Secretariat Kaduna and other federal government establishments visited say they already taken their jobs even without any form of enforcement. In addition to the vaccination, there is also substantial compliance with other COVID-19 safety protocols by workers.
I have taken my job and I'm feeling okay. There's not any problem pertaining to my body. I have complied with the federal government instruction.
A medical personnel in the Secretariat who spoke to us off camera says having a center here will go a long way in easing compliance. In Kaduna, Haruna Mohammed, NTA News.
About 100,000 poor and vulnerable households in Jama and Sanga local government areas of Kaduna State have benefited from the federal government's conditional cash transfer program. Lois Apollo reports.
About 3,000 indigent persons in 2 local government areas received 10,000 naira cash for 2 months disbursement.
This money, I will use it for my business.
I have so many people under me. I have my family, I sponsor them through their school fees.
Apart from the existing beneficiaries in some selected local government areas, additional 14 local government areas were enlisted into the program.
They are being given by monthly 10,000, and that's what they are all collecting now. So we are happy, the people are happy. They are orderly and they follow instruction.
To further consolidate on the successes of the program, a community target-based team has been intensifying enlightenment campaign among communities for the purpose of registering more beneficiaries.
the community-based targeting process requires that the CBT team go into communities, have discussions with community heads, village heads, enlighten them about the program. Then the village heads and community heads in turn are expected to mobilize their people to be sensitized about the process.
The social investment program in Kaduna State is making inroads into hinterlands as part of the present administration's resolve to remove 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. In Kafanchan, Lois Apollo, NTA News.
And that's it from here. It's back to Lydia in Abuja.
Many thanks, Amina. Senate has reconsidered the National Health Insurance Scheme Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021 and passed it for third reading. The bill was initially passed and transmitted for presidential assent on the 23rd of April 2021, but the president made some critical observations which have been corrected by the legislators. It seeks to repeal the National Health Insurance Scheme and to enact the National Health Insurance Authority Bill for the promotion, regulation, and integration of health insurance schemes in Nigeria.
Desirous of the need to address the President's observation and make necessary amendments and rely on Order 1B and 53B of Senate Order. Accordingly, the Senate rescinds the decision on the affected clauses of the bill as passed and recommits same to the Committee of the Whole for consideration and passage.
The authority shall implement the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund as set out in the guideline developed in that regard.
That fund, in terms of its implementation, it will be in line with the Act as well as any guideline that is developed in that regard.
I think the idea is for the money to be appropriated, even if it is a special funding.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark World AIDS Day, Basi Taipang in this report takes a look at global commitment and the road to ending HIV in 2030.
Fulfilling the promise to tackle inequalities, research has shown will advance the human rights of key population and people living with HIV. It will also make the society to prepare to beat COVID-19 and other pandemics and support economic recovery and stability.
The federal government has consistently increased domestic resourcing of AIDS response by making available resources annually to place additional 50,000 clients on life-saving medicines.
In a message to mark the 2021 World AIDS Day, WHO Director General regrets that 40 years after, the world has not been able to end HIV and AIDS.
WHO calls on governments and citizens to use every tool in the toolbox to narrow inequalities, prevent HIV infections, save lives, and end the AIDS epidemic.
NACA's report shows Nigeria, over the years, has recorded significant progress in the fight against HIV.
And I want to say, Nigeria is on the fast-track lane to controlling HIV epidemic.
The theme of this year's celebration is End Inequality, End AIDS. Through sustainable financing, Basi Taipang, NTA News.
To throw more light on the celebration of the day, we have in the studio Dr. Richard Amenya. He is the fast-track advisor, UNAIDS Nigeria. You're welcome to Nationwide.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, the 2030 target of ending HIV and AIDS here in Nigeria. How far in this regard?
Yes, I think Nigeria has made significant progress in terms of addressing HIV in the country. And as I speak, we are very delighted that we have about 1.6 million people out of about 1.8 million people living with HIV on treatment. And as we know, there is no cure for AIDS and there's no vaccine. And so people would have to take antiretroviral drugs for the rest of their lives. And Nigeria is doing a very good job as far as this is concerned. And so we in the United Nations are very, very, very excited, and we actually appreciate the government for putting HIV high on the banner as a priority. And then also we appreciate the US government and then also the Global Fund for really resourcing Nigeria to be able to put people on treatment. Definitely, and we just heard that Mr. President, since 2017, had announced that every year he's committed to putting 50,000 Nigerians on treatment annually. And for us, that has significantly contributed. And so Nigeria really is doing well as far as treatment is concerned. But definitely there is room for improvement. The same story cannot be told for children. Children, as we speak, just about 45% of treatment coverage is what is happening among children, whereas adults is over 90%. And so there is a huge gap there that we need to close. And Nigeria is the largest country where we have AIDS deaths among children. Okay. So even though we have a good story to tell, when it comes to children, we don't have equally good story to tell.
Okay, when you say children, you mean mother-to-child transmission?
Mother-to-child transmission is a challenge in Nigeria. Coverage has reduced from 65% in 2016 to about 44% by the end of 2020. And so we see a huge gap in there. We need to reach about 83,000 mothers needing antiretroviral drugs to prevent mother-to-child transmission of HIV. And so far, we are only doing 44%. Government has realized this as a priority because we are not doing well in mother-to-child transmission of HIV. Nigeria is #1 in terms of children who are infected with HIV or born with HIV. And globally, 1 in every 7 child born HIV positive lives in Nigeria. And that is why government is really making this a huge priority. Okay. We recently had a national consultation on mother-to-child transmission of HIV. The Honorable Minister of Health chaired it, and the DG of NACA was also there. All the partners were there, and we all committed to helping Nigeria to reverse this trend among children.
Okay, now talking about reversing this trend, not just for children, would you say COVID-19 has interrupted on HIV/AIDS interventions?
It is an interesting question because in the beginning, when it happened in February 2020, we had a lockdown close to March, thereabout. We noticed that after the lockdown, coverage of HIV testing, HIV treatment, everything went down because of the lockdown. But Nigeria, we have innovative leaders and then community workers. What happened was that community people rallied around government with strong government leadership. They put in what we call contingency plans, contingency plans. And I can tell you today that Nigeria was the only country that did not have significant service disruption, last year. And we put close to 350,000 people on treatment. This is amazing. In all the PEPFAR countries, Nigeria was the only country that saw an upward trend in terms of treatment. And Global Fund is excited with its results because of Nigeria. Because in all other countries, COVID significantly impacted services. And so everybody is looking up to Nigeria. We see this as a priority, and we managed to rally around. And community people, it will interest you to note that community people were going from house to house, sending treatment services to their peers. And community workers were going from house to house to do HIV testing. And so we had significant people identified, and then people were put on treatment. And, lockdown prevents access to health facilities. Okay. And so this really helped Nigeria to be able to showcase that wonderful trend.
That's very impressive. In fact, that's kudos to the health sectors and stakeholders also in the health sector. Thank you for joining us on Nationwide, Dr. Richard Amenya. He is the fast-track advisor, UNAIDS Nigeria. Thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you so much for all your good work you do.
Okay. The House of Representatives has resolved to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate allegations that oil and gas companies owe the federal government more than 2.6 trillion naira. The said debt is as a result of failure of these firms to remit taxes and make certain payments. The resolution is sequel to a motion from Representative Ahmed Munir, which noted that the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NITI, issued a report on the outstanding payments. The House was of the view that the monies, when recovered, could be used to fund the 2022 budget. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, and NITI are to provide necessary data to facilitate recovery of debt owed to the federal government by oil companies. Now to the judiciary. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has dismissed a suit filed by 2 eligible voters seeking the disqualification of Professor Charles Soludo and his deputy Onyeka Ibezim in the November 6 Anambra governorship election on the allegation that they provided false information. Olabode Arewa will tell us more.
The matter was filed by Adindu Onyebuchi Valentine and Chukwuebuka Egudike, who say they are interested Anambra State indigents. They allege that the governor-elect Charles Soludo wrote on his INEC nomination form that he was contesting for the Agwata 2 state constituency seat, while the deputy governor-elect Onyeka Ibezim wrote that he was contesting the Awka constituency seat. The court, in dismissing the submissions of the plaintiffs, observed that while it was within their rights as voters to scrutinize anyone seeking elective office, the suit was an abuse of court process because the defendants have not violated any law by their action. Moreover, it was public knowledge that the Anambra poll was the election taking place at the period in time. Justice Taiwo Taiwo dismissed the case for lacking merit with a fine of 2 million naira against the plaintiffs. INEC, ABGA, Soludo, and Ibezim are the defendants in the matter. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
You're still watching Nationwide. More reports from Port Harcourt as we join Jenny, who will guide us. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, Lydia. Good evening and welcome. The directive by the federal government towards general vaccination of civil servants is yet to be effective in most federal government ministries and parastatals in Port Harcourt. Ijomo Gweke, who monitored the compliance, reports that measures are not in place to check proof of vaccination at entry points.
The latest measure by the federal government to further ensure health safety of its citizens from the claws of COVID-19 and its variants is that all civil servants must be vaccinated by December 1.
We have it. We have it. Yes.
Where?
What do you call? Federal Canada. But I've taken the vaccine in my local government and I have no problem.
Have you taken?
I've not taken, but I'm preparing to do that soonest.
Yeah, for under recommendation, I was coming to do 1 or 2 myself. I was not actually checked for any vaccine.
Have you taken?
No.
The situation here at the Federal Secretariat, which houses over 6 ministries and parastatals, indicates that there is no compliance to this directive as no measures are put in place to check proof of vaccination at entry points. From the Federal Secretariat, Port Harcourt, Ijomo Gweke, NTA News.
The new Commandant, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC Zone L, James Bassey, has visited the scenes of recent fire incidents in Port Harcourt and appealed to residents to report illegal refining activities within residential areas to the Corps to help stem the tide. Robinson Darataide reports.
It was the first official duty of the NSCDC Assistant Commandant General in charge of Zone L, James Bassey in Rivers State. He was concerned that within the space of 1 month, About 5 fire incidents traceable to illegal oil bunkering happened in Port Harcourt, River State. He visited the Rumokoro fire site where a building was razed completely and the site of recent fire outbreak at Elechi Beach, which destroyed residential houses and property worth millions of naira.
As we returned, I went to buy us a for one of our elderly men in our compound that died. When we get to this place around 6 p.m., truly everywhere was burned down.
He urged the people to resist illegal oil activities by reporting perpetrators to the NNCDC on time.
There are better ways to make a living than to get involved in criminal activities or criminalities. It is said that you could have all the time, but someday the law will catch up with you.
Other fire incidents include the D-line fire and Nimbe Bile fire outbreak, which destroyed cargo boats and other property. In Port Harcourt, Robinson Delateide, NTA News.
Sokoto will be our next stop on Nationwide after the break.
It's another season of Carols.
Radio Nigeria, NTA, and Voice of Nigeria invite you to their annual service of 9 lessons and carols.
Theme: Peace, be still.
Come and enjoy the ministrations of Radio Nigeria, NTA, Voice of Nigeria, and other choirs.
The message will be given by the Most Reverend Dr. Ignatius Kaigama, Archbishop, Catholic Archdiocese of Abuja.
And lessons will be read by notable Nigerians.
Chairman, Mr. Boss Mustafa, Secretary to the Government of the Federation.
Special guest of honor, His Excellency Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Chief host, Alhaji Lai Muhammad, Minister of Information and Culture.
Host, Directors General of FRCN, NTA, and Voice of Nigeria.
Date, 5th of December 2021.
Venue, National Christian Center, Abuja.
Time, 3 p.m. prompt.
The program will be broadcast live on Radio Nigeria, NTA, and Voice of Nigeria,
including live streaming on Facebook.
For advert placement, call RATE on 0803 451 2261, Lillian on 0803 314 4383, or Bibiana on 0909 965 1270.
All COVID-19 protocols will be duly observed.
Radio Nigeria, NTA, and Voice of Nigeria Service of 9 Lessons and Carols 2021.
Supported by Vivid Sounds. Come, let's celebrate the newborn king.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
Southampton will look to bounce back from their thrashing at Anfield when they welcome the Seagulls to St Mary's this Saturday. It's Southampton versus Brighton and Hove Albion on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 3:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu, empowered by Integral.
You're still there. Federal civil servants in Sokoto have appealed to federal government to give more time for civil servants to be fully vaccinated. The federal government had given directives that any civil servant who failed to be vaccinated by the 1st of December should not be allowed into federal government offices. Sheikh Muhammad Detti visited the Federal Secretariat Sokoto and has the situation report.
The federal government secretariat in Sokoto was busy as staff of different agencies were doing their duties effectively. Some staff interviewed said they are aware of the directives which said no staff should be allowed to federal government offices without being vaccinated. They said that they were vaccinated and had no side effect from the vaccine appealing to those that are yet to be vaccinated to ensure they comply with the federal government directives.
I've taken my own COVID vaccine, the first and the second jab. It's safe. Other civil should please try and take their own. I will go by tomorrow and do it by the grace of God.
Some heads of agencies interviewed said majority of their staff have been vaccinated and assured that the remaining staff who have not received the vaccine will be vaccinated soon. They also appealed to the federal government to give more time so that all the civil servants will be vaccinated.
Most of them, they have done their own vaccine.
So most of our staff, if not all, have complied with the rules that each and every worker of the federal government should be vaccinated. We have done so.
As at the time of compiling this report, no staff of the federal government was barricaded from entering the federal secretariat. In Sokoto, Sheo Muhammad Datti, NTA News.
Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal has cautioned citizens who are desirous to contribute in the fight against criminal activities to join the legitimately constituted vigilante groups in the state. Tambuwal gave the warning while signing the Self-Styled Security Vanguard's Prohibition Order 2021 in the state. Dalata Abdullahi has the report.
Banditry has been a common phenomenon in the eastern flank of Sokoto and other parts of the state. Scores of lives were lost at different times and locations, several others injured or displaced, while property and domestic animals rustled by bandits. It is believed that the operations of the self-styled security vanguards had contributed immensely in several reprisal attacks by bandits in many parts of the state. Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal had on several occasions issued strong warning on these self-security vanguards referred to as NSAK, which seemed to be hitting brick walls. Tambuwal signed the Self-Security Vanguard's Prohibition Order 2021 shortly after closed-door discussions with stakeholders on security matters in the state. The order outlawed the organization, operations, and any activity by the self-security vanguards in the state, and anybody caught will be punished in accordance with the provisions of the Penal Code Law 2019.
We know the history of banditry and the role of NSAK. We have noticed that this practice is creeping into the state and is causing a lot of harm.
The law provides that those convicted under Section 4, subsection A, B, C, and D will be liable to a fine of 500,000 naira or 14 years imprisonment or both. Also under Section 5, anybody found in possession of offensive weapon illegally in public will be liable to a fine of 200,000 naira or 7 years imprisonment or both. In Sokoto, Dalata Abdullahi, NTA News.
And that's it from here. It's now back to Lydia in Abuja.
Many thanks, Sadia. Extreme poverty and widening social inequality have been described as part of the issues affecting national unity in the country. This was part of submissions at the National Unity Summit held in Abuja with the theme, Nigeria, an imperative of unity. Nigerians are therefore advised to embrace peace and pursue unity of purpose for nation building.
It is only through meaningful and engaging conversations that we can begin the process of national reconciliation, healing, and progress. We don't believe that the poverty is a sufficient reason to take up arms and begin to terrorize other law-abiding citizens.
Dignitaries at the summit include the Governor of Ekiti State, Professor Kayode Fayemi, and the former INEC Chairman, Professor Atahiru Chega. The Minister of Women Affairs, in collaboration with the United States Agency for International Development, has inaugurated a situation room to generate and collate data in tracking cases of human rights and gender-based abuses. The effort is in commemoration of the 16-day activism against gender-based violence. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
The Ministry of Women Affairs has remained at the forefront of advancing issues affecting children, vulnerable persons, and gender-based related violence. And to tackle the menace headlong, the ministry, in collaboration with USAID, inaugurated Situation Room for Orphans and Vulnerable Persons to develop data in addressing cases of gross abuses of human rights.
We can all, through commitment and foresight, emulate the contributions of USAID and commit to a harmonious and sustainable data system that will place Nigeria in the league of nations that are data compliant in accountability and commitment.
The mandate of the Ministry of Women's Affairs to promote women's equality and opportunity and protect women and children from abuse and exploitation is one that is fundamental to USAID's mission in Nigeria.
The ministry also presented awards to USAID in appreciation of its global support in promoting human rights issues and uplifting the hope of the orphans and the less privileged. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Since children are not spared from gender violence, harmful practices and abuse, it's important to recruit them in coloring the world orange by standing up against all forms of violence and demand justice. This is what the Ministry of Women Affairs is advocating as 16 days of activism continues. Momso Damien Dati reports.
With this counting into the 16 days of global campaign against gender-based violence, mobilization and sensitization is getting tougher, capturing the attention of all from tender ages to adulthood.
We have female mutilation. Around 200 million women alive today undergo female mutilation, either at tender age or adolescence age.
The Ministry of Women Affairs is considering possible ways of tackling one of the major barriers to the development, growth, and survival of children, which leaves them socially, emotionally, and psychologically destabilized. Hence, this interface with children from different schools in Abuja.
To end violence against women and girls are very urgent. The team focuses on stopping gender-based violence with relieving survivors, adopting comprehensive strategies to address the root causes, change harmful practices and social norms, and empower our women and our girls.
The ministry further gave out lines to be contacted in case of violence or abuse. In Abuja, Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
Lucy Ejike wins gold in Georgia. This and more on Sports Update.
Soccer Federation of Nigeria, in conjunction with the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, has kicked off a football tournament to commemorate the International Day. In the opening match played at the Old Parade Ground, Abuja, FCT team walloped Team Kirby 7-0.
The United Nations set aside thought of every year, every December as a Disabled Day, International Disabled Day. As such, as far as soccer, we are persons with disabilities, and I think it is our day that we should celebrate it.
Therefore, the tournament will end on Friday. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Lucy Ejike is still celebrating her victory in the 67 kg event at the 2021 Powerlifting Championship in Georgia. Ejike, who captained Team Nigeria to Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games, claimed gold medal Wednesday, dumped China's Yuzhou Tang to second position. With this win, Ejike equaled her 3 gold medals at the Paralympics. Away from that, Nigeria's table tennis star Aruna Quadri said he is excited with his latest ITTF ranking. Aruna Quadri's impressive outing in the just concluded International Table Tennis Federation World Championship in Austin, Texas, United States, and the player the yielded positive result, moving from 17th position to 13th. Aruna, who crossed out of the quarterfinals of the just concluded event, remained the highest-ranked African player on the ranking table. And finally, Britain's former world number 4, Yona Konta, has announced her retirement from professional tennis. The former Wimbledon semi-finalist said she was grateful to the career she has had. Konta's future had been unclear for a while, having dropped to 113 in the world after struggling for form and fitness. She is the only British woman to achieve the Wimbledon semi-finalist in 39 years. With sport updates, Clement Olorutoba, NTA News.
Before we go, don't forget to join NTA in the campaign against rape and rapists. I am Lydia Odijochi. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.